There we go. We are recording. It is July 8th, Fam Jam special team call. Thank you again, Lindsay, for jumping on and talking to our team. I literally stalk Lindsay. Like, no word of a lie. I feel like I've done every single free training that she has offered, and I just absolutely adore her. She has helped me so much in so many ways. Just with, I feel like, the overall, I'm going to say, blocks that a lot of us have in our businesses and just in life in general, with imposter syndrome, with perfectionism. There's so many things that she speaks to, and it really speaks to me. And I know it's going to speak to so many of you on this team who are here live and who are going to be catching the recording of this, because I know there's a lot of you catching the recording. So I'm not going to talk anymore, though. I just want to pop this over. Lindsay's an incredible life coach, and she has built this business of hers from the ground up. So I'm going to just throw it over to you, Lindsay, and you can take it away for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Also, really quick, is this backwards to you guys? Okay.
No, we can see it. It's good.
Backwards to me when I see it, so I'm like, whoa, have I never noticed that? Like, that is crazy. Okay, we're good. Hi guys, I am so grateful to be here, and thank you for finding time during the day. I set a boundary for myself a while back that I don't do anything at night, like night calls, so I just appreciate you guys being flexible and finding a way to be here today. So yeah, I'm a life coach. Actually, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if Charlene, right? Is that how you say it? Okay, I was like, just making sure, because sometimes I screw people's names up. I don't know if she knows, but I was a Beachbody coach actually before this. So it's kind of interesting in the way that I have a unique perspective, because I know that the daily behaviors, like I did all of those things. And for me, my journey just kind of evolved, and this is what I was passionate about, but I do have a lot of experience with it. I kind of started building my brand through that avenue, and then it evolved from there. So I'm also happy at the end of this to answer any questions you guys have for me about what I'm teaching you on, or just in general. So what I want to talk about today is how to build, I don't know if you can see that, build a mindset for success. So you guys have already been taught, right, what you need to do in order to build your Beachbody business, which is posting on social media, right, building a brand, connecting with people, running challenge groups, adding people to your network, reading personal development, right? I don't know if they've added or changed anything since I've been around, but like, you know, the things you need to do in Beachbody, and I'm sure your leaders on your team do a great job of teaching you that, of telling you that, right? But what happens is when we don't have the mindset that we need for success, those things can either fall flat, like they don't work, and you're like, well, I'm doing the things, like it's not working, or we get discouraged by failure. So we do the things and then it doesn't work quite the way that we want them to, and we get discouraged and we kind of like stop building momentum. I wrote a list here because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything. So we fail and that will stop us, or we don't stay committed over time, right? So we go really hard. Some of you guys, you know, may go really hard for 30 days. Maybe when you joined the team, you were like, I'm all in, this is it. And then, you know, 3 months in, you are just kind of like chugging along, trying to get yourself like into motion again. And whether it's you, or obviously I know you guys are all building your own unique teams, and a part of this, it's important for you to understand for yourself, but also for leading and guiding the people who are underneath you, right? Because having people who are building a team who are motivated internally is what makes your job even easier, right? As a leader. So that's one of the biggest things. And then if you don't have a mindset for success, sometimes what we'll do is you'll actually create success a little bit. You'll start to, like, maybe you hit emerald really fast, or maybe you start to like build your team and sell a bunch of people into these programs and into your groups, but then we sabotage. So we haven't built the framework that we need in order to continue to reach new levels of success. And if we don't have the mindset we need, then we often subconsciously, without realizing it, kind of sabotage what we're doing. And you're like, it's kind of like with eating, right? You're like, I was doing so well for 30 days and then all of a sudden I went ham on like a giant bag of M&Ms. Like, I don't know what created that, right? That kind of stuff happens, whether it's in our health or in our businesses too, if we haven't built the mindset we need to keep going past that point. We will also have doubt cripple us. So doubt and fear. And when that happens, right, when your husband doesn't get what you're doing, it feels like it holds you back, right? You don't feel like you have the support you need. Or when somebody says, like, I remember I would sometimes go out with friends and my old Instagram was called Mango Fit, and people would kind of be like, oh, here comes Mango Fit, and like make jokes about it, right? In my head, I was like, just watch, you'll see. But, right, like you have to have that mindset for success. Otherwise, stuff like that will really like crush your dreams and hold you back from continuing forward. So that's the other thing. And then the last thing is ultimately like you hold yourself back, right? So you have everything that you need for success, but then you just hold yourself back. You keep getting in your own way. And in a way, these are all interconnected, and you know, you might suffer from all of them. It's totally normal. When you go to live and create a big life, like the reason why we have our current lives is because of the way we think and because of the way that we show up. And so if we want to create different lives, if we want to create different levels of success, we want to create massively successful businesses and health and all of the things, we have to create, like, I think about your mind as like the soil that you're like planting all of the seeds in. The soil has to be right, because it doesn't matter how many seeds you plant, how much you do, and like what flowers you put in there. If the soil sucks, right, like nothing is growing. Or if you don't have the water you need, nothing is growing. And that's why your success mindset is so important. So I'm a whiteboard person. I'm going to use my whiteboard for a quick second. It reminds me of when I was like a kid and I pretended that I was a teacher. But I think just illustrations can sometimes make things really easy to see for you guys. So let me move this closer. And I have carpet in here. I just moved, so I'm not used to that. Usually I'm like just pulling it along. Okay, so I like to look at, there's 3 ways that we take action. Let me move this up a little. And so what is really powerful first and foremost for building a success mindset is awareness. Like just having awareness of when you're doing these things, right? When you are doubting yourself, or when you are failing and wanting to quit, or when you are sabotaging yourself. Because if you're not aware of it, right, then there's really nothing you can do about it. So what I want to show you guys is there's 3 ways that we take action that will kind of show you where you're at and where your mindset is and what you need to work on. And then I'll show you what you want your action to look like when you have a success mindset. So one of the ways, and you guys can kind of just shake your head if you are on screen, one of the ways we take action is, you can see that, right? Yeah, let me move it closer. So I want you guys to think about this as time. I'm sorry. This is, oh my gosh, what's happening? Action over time. And we're not talking about the action, right? You guys already have the action. You know what you need to do. You need to get out there, make offers, do challenge groups, all of the thing. But your action will always kind of tell you where you're at. So this is results. So I think about this like a graph, okay? So some of us, when it comes to our action over time, it looks like this. So very little action. Over time, we don't really do anything. We kind of do a couple things. We like throw spaghetti at the wall. We're like, I'm going to put my first post out and I'm going to announce that I'm a Beachbody coach, and nobody responds. And then we're like, that didn't work. I'm just never going to do anything again, right? And this is the results we create, the level of results we create when this is the type of action we take, right? So when I look at this graph, the biggest thing, and you guys can shake your head, who feels like this is what they're doing or like this is where they're getting stuck, right? This is like a telltale sign that doubt and fear, and I call it like drama, mind drama, is like weighing you down. It's the thing that's holding you back, because otherwise you'd be doing something, right? You'd be trying something. So that's just one example. This is one way that we can take action when our mindset isn't built for success. And tell me if I move too fast or anything. I kind of go pretty quickly. So another way, this is my favorite because this was me. Another way is, it looks like this. So we've got action over time, we've got results, and it looks like this. Okay? So basically, we like go really hard, and then we don't see enough results, and we're like, I'm just gonna like stop, this isn't really working, or we get all in our head, and then we like stop taking action, and then it's like we keep doing this thing, and what happens is our results do that too, right? So like, you know, you hit Success Club 1 month, and then you never hit it for the next 3 months, and then you're like, I'm getting back after it, I'm gonna do it again, and it creates results that look like this, and you never create any consistency, right? I see some of you guys smiling. Who does that? That was me. I was like, let's throw spaghetti at the wall. Let's just go crazy. The other thing with this one is that you also burn yourself out. So it's kind of like with health, I used to do this exact same thing too, and you guys will see that these patterns will show up in other areas of your life. But I would be like, in a rush to get my results as fast as humanly possible. And what it did was it made it impossible to maintain. So instead of just like trying to eat healthy overall and do better in my diet, it was like, I'm gonna start waking up at 3 a.m., I'm gonna meal prep, I'm gonna eat plain chicken and broccoli every single meal of the day, and you can only keep up with that for so long. Like, you're a human being, right? You have life to live. So what this is often coming from is like, you're rushing to get there, you're trying to get there as fast as possible, and you're not really giving yourself enough time to like grow and evolve and create results that keep building momentum. And what kind of creates this is the thought, it's not working, or like, it's not working fast enough. Okay? And guess what happens when we have the thought, it's not working, or it's not working fast enough? We often like to look at, what I say is like, we all like to look at Susie Q and what Susie Q is doing, and we're like, oh, Susie Q like has it figured out, like I'm not as good as her, I gotta try what she's doing, right? And that's also what creates this ebb and flow, because you're trying a bunch of different stuff. Okay, how many of you guys do this? I think I already asked that, but like shake your head. Yeah, so a lot of those people. Okay. And you might be all of these sometimes. Like at every phase of my journey, I was like, first I was the first graph, and then I was the second graph, and then I was the third graph. So the next graph looks like this. So we start off, I mean, we're like consistent. We start to create results, and we take consistent action over time, and then we hit a plateau. So we get stuck at like emerald, or we get stuck at like we get stuck at diamond for like a really long time, and then we get discouraged, and we kind of just like sabotage, and we're just like, this is over, I'm not doing it anymore, and then our results like go like that. Okay? A lot of times what this like whole thing comes from is thoughts like, I'm not good enough. I don't look like those multiple six-figure earners in Beachbody. I don't act like them. I don't have what they have. I'm not good enough to have these results or make that kind of money or create that type of success, right? So, and that's usually like, that's what's happening like right here, right? First you're like, I got this, and then your inner talk, even if you don't notice it, starts to do that, and that's what creates this result. How many of you guys have like been in that, stuck in that before? Yeah? Okay, so here is what we want the graph to look like, okay? And this is what having a success mindset will help you do. This is what we want it to look like, right? We want to take consistent action over time, and we want our results to not just keep growing, but build momentum over time, right? Which you guys are in such a beautiful business to do that, right? It's something that exponentially grows once you start to get past this, like this part over here. But we got to get there, and we got to be able to show consistently past that point, right? So this is the goal. Like, this is what you guys want to create, and then that just gets to keep going up, 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 and momentum just keeps building, right? Are you guys, who's your upline? Nikki?
We're Fitzpatrick's, and then Lindsay that way.
Okay, yeah, I don't know who that is. Never mind. I was gonna say, but it's just probably like them, right? Like, they just keep growing, and they keep getting bigger, and their momentum keeps going, and you're like, what? How do they do that? That's where we want to get you guys. Now, how do we do this? How do we actually do this, right? That's what I'm here to teach you today. So, a success mindset is built on 3 things, okay? Apparently, I like to draw, like, diagrams and things today. So, we have to have belief in ourselves. We have to have belief that we can have the results. I'll leave it up here for a while so you guys can write it too. And we have to have belief that our action will work. Okay, I'll read them again because you guys probably can't read that. It's kind of small. So the 3 things we need is we have to have belief in ourselves, 100% belief. So we have to believe that, like, of course, like the thought I have when people would joke about my little business idea, right? Where I think, you'll see, of course, I'm going to have everything that I want, right? Of course, I'm going to build a massive team, right? Because you also, if you think about this, I wasn't necessarily going to bridge this gap, but if you think about that type of belief is magnetic to people who want to join your team, right? You want to join a team with somebody who, like, is, like, so sure that their team is going somewhere that you're like, I got to get on this train. Like, this train is going somewhere. So that also reflects out in the way that you sell and make offers and all of that, because you're like, if you want to join, like, we're going somewhere. So we have to have that. We have to have belief that we, like, individually can have the result. So obviously that you guys believe it's possible. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. But you have to believe, like, I'm just as worthy and just as good as the Fitzgeralds or whatever, Fitzpatricks. I'm sorry if they watch this or if they're on there. That I'm going to be the person who's up at the top of that list, crushing it, leading a team full of thousands of people. Of course, me. Like, that's who I'm meant to be. And that, like, I'm meant to have that life, like the result that I want. And then the last one is belief that our action will work, right? The reason why our action gets all wonky is because oftentimes one of these 2 things, or that we don't think our action's working. We're like, oh, my posting isn't good enough. I don't know enough people. My network's not big enough. My whatever. And so if I just keep posting, it's not going to work, right? Like, I want you guys to think about this when it comes to health as well. This is so valuable, too, to be able to teach the people in your challenge groups, because this is also why they don't have the results they want in their health. Same exact thing, right? Because think about this. In reality, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, if people could just eat healthy, right, work out consistently, like for a long period of time, they'd probably get the results that they want, right? Or if they did the Beachbody program, right? Beachbody is so good because they not only give you the supplements and the, like, Shakeology, they also give you a workout. So it's like, if you could just do these 2 things, but why don't people create consistent results, right? Part of them maybe doesn't think like, oh, this Beachbody workout won't actually work for me, or it's not working fast enough. It's all the same thing, right? But when you work on this in yourself, you'll also become a master of it to help other people through it as well. So how do we actually do that though, right? So when I look at this, I think about them on like a scale. I think about, okay, we want to have a 10 out of 10 on all three of these. Now, here's the thing I want you guys to know. I don't want you to get all in your head the moment that you don't believe, or maybe you're like on a 2 out of 10 on all of these things. I don't want you to like freak out and think something's gone wrong. Anything you are growing to create, like you have to grow your belief in. It's like a muscle, right? You don't expect to walk in the gym and haven't worked out for 3 years and think, I love that I can use all my like fitness examples with you guys, because like I'm fully on board with that. Sometimes I'm like, okay, wait, maybe that won't work. But if I go into the gym and I haven't worked out for 2 years, I can't expect to be squatting 500 pounds, right? Like, and be like, well, I'm screwed. I can never do it, right? You have to start small and you have to build it over time. So I always tell people, nothing's gone wrong when you don't believe 10 out of 10 in all of these things. That's just your gap. That's just your opportunity. And you can build it just like you build a muscle. Okay? So when you look at all three of these things, what I want you guys each to do individually is actually rate them for yourself, right? So like, how much do you actually believe that you are like going, like that you are going to do this, that you are the perfect person to like have this life, create this result? Or the leader. Sorry, this one's belief in the result. This one's just belief in you, yourself, being that person. Okay? So how much do you believe that you're actually, for whatever your goal is for this, right? Like maybe, I'm guessing, you guys are here, you showed up, so I'm guessing it's that you probably want to eventually leave your job and build a massive Beachbody business, right? So how much do you actually believe in yourself to do that? Rate it. What is it out of a 10? Be honest, right? Yeah, retire my husband from policing, so good. Sorry, I haven't been reading these chats. I'll come back to them. I like it though. When they pop up, they like hype me up a little bit. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so perfect. So how much do you believe in you? How much do you believe that you're going to have the result you want, right? Like that the life you want, all surrounding your business and the team you want and all of that, like is going to happen for you. What out of 10? Okay, and then how much do you actually believe that your action, the action you're taking right now, is going to work? Like that it's going to create the result that you want. Like if you just kept doing it. Okay? Now, again, I always tell people, like, sometimes when people learn this work is they like to like fake themselves out in their heads, and they like, are like, oh no, I can't not believe. So like, I believe a 10 out of 10. And I'm like, the best thing you can do with this work is be really freaking honest with yourself. It's the only way that you're going to be able to actually do this work and grow and change it. So now that you have this awareness of like where you're at with this, I actually teach a process in one of my programs that I'm going to teach you guys today on how to actually build belief like a muscle, right? So a lot of people will try to like, are you guys good? You got that? I don't want to. Okay. A lot of people, I'm not saying that affirmations are bad, but you have to believe, like you actually have to believe what you're telling yourself in order for it to work. So you can just like tell yourself to believe, but I think about it as like the saying, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say, like bounces off me. Like my thought is, like you can't just tell yourself, oh, I have to believe at a 10 out of 10. I do believe at a 10 out of 10. Your brain, if it doesn't actually believe that, is going to be like, that's bull. Like we don't actually believe that, right? And so that's why I developed this process to help you build that belief. So you guys can just take one of the corners of the triangle. You don't have to do it for all of them. Take the lowest one. That probably would be a good thing to start with. And my question that I want you guys to answer for yourselves, and you can just walk through the, like, I'll walk through the process first, and then you can just jot some stuff down after, and then we can kind of talk about it until, what time do I have you till? 2:30, I think? 2:30?
Yeah, 2:30.
Okay. Perfect. So the question I asked myself is, let's just say you're like, I don't know if my action's gonna work. Like, I post on social media every day, but I feel like I'm speaking to like a audience of nobody. Nobody's listening to me, right? How many of you guys have thought that before? You're like, okay, it's a 2 out of 10. What I want you to ask yourself is why? Why don't I think, like, why is it a 2 out of 10? Okay, so first I'll go through the process, okay? You wanna know why? Then you wanna go through this process of proving it wrong. So our brain, like, loves evidence. And what our brain likes to do when it's keeping us safe and protecting us and keeping us in our comfort zone is it looks for all the evidence to support the things that will keep us the safest. So it is way safer to believe, like, I'm just not that type of person. I have the thought I'm just not that type of person, and I look around and I'm like, see, when I go to Beachbody events, I don't look like them. I don't act like them. I don't this, that. Your brain literally is wired to look for evidence to support the things that it thinks are most true. And so part of our job is like taking the reins back, and that's where you're proving it wrong, is you actually saying, like, how is this wrong? How is this, like, incorrect? Where is there evidence, like, otherwise? So another thing might be, maybe even for your potential clients, or potential business partners, they might think, like, I've got 5 kids, I work a full-time job, it's, like, impossible. Proving it wrong might look like, okay, let's go look for evidence to support the fact that there's someone out there with 5 kids and a full-time job that actually did the damn thing. Because what that does is it starts to, like, I imagine you're trying to, like, put chinks, like, in the armor of your brain's belief systems. You're like, let's call bull on this. Let's, like, find all the reasons why this is bull. Okay? Then I ask, what would make it a 10? When I say that, it's kind of like what would I have to believe to make it a 10? Like, what would I have to think about myself to make it a 10? And you can write anything down for that. Right? So, like, my brain might say, if I had, let's see, if I had 200,000 people on my email list, it would be so easy for me to hit my multi-million-dollar goal. Right? Like, something like that. Like, I could say that would make it a 10 for me for sure. Like, I'd be like, of course. Okay, so what are all the things that make it a 10? Now, here's what I want to offer you guys. If your brain does come up with circumstances like that, right? 200,000 people on my email list, or 500 million billion followers, right? I take it one step further and I ask myself, why? Because when we make circumstances responsible for our success, we don't have any control. You're like, oh, I don't have 200,000 people. I'm screwed. But you always have to ask yourself why, because, or like, what thought do I have about it that makes that, like, makes me think that that would work? And the thought I would have is there's plenty of people who want what I have to offer, right? And when I find that thought, I'm like, ooh, I'm like, so that's what I actually have to believe, not that I have to have 200,000 people on my email list. I have to believe that I have plenty of people who need what I have to offer. Okay, so you want to basically, what I'm saying is get it all down to like the thought level. That's what I call it, like the thought that you have about the circumstance, the thought that you have about yourself. Okay, then the next question is, how are these true now? So when I first started my Beachbody business, the thought I had was, and I actually didn't know this work at the time, but the thought that I had was, one person's listening. One person is, because we also get caught up in people liking it and commenting it and all that, right? The thought I had was there is one girl who didn't even like this post, who didn't even comment on this post, who read this post, and it was exactly what she needed to hear. And she's sitting in her room and she's like tearing up and she's like, this gave me hope. Like I feel like I literally have chills even right now, like thinking that. And that, like thinking about that one person just helped me keep going. I'm like, she's listening, she's watching. And what happens is over time, as you believe that, she starts to show up, right? And then more of her start to show up, and then more and more and more of her, right? But we get so caught up in like vanity numbers meaning something, instead of about like the individual people that matter and why you got into this business in the first place. So how is it true? Now, for the things that you don't believe are true, again, some of your brain will be like, I definitely don't believe that. That's totally not true. I developed a process called creating bridge thoughts, is what I call it. So bridge thoughts are, I want you guys to imagine if your current thought, we'll just use CT, and your future thought, meaning the thought you would have if it was a 10, is your current thought is no one is listening, right? Again, I want you guys to imagine, how motivated am I to keep going if I have the thought nobody's listening and nobody cares? Like, I'm probably going to stop after a couple of times of trying, right? Like, that feels awful. So if the future thought is everyone is listening, when you look at that, your brain is like, everyone's not listening. Like my friend the other day, like I even think I have a pretty good sized audience and I talk about my life all of the time and show it, and it's like always on my stories and all of the things. Like all of people 3 months after, even with my audience, will be like, did you move? And I'm like, what? Like, I was talking about that for months, like every day, like, you know, there were boxes, there was a new house, like how did this happen, right? Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not the center of your world, you're not paying attention to me. No, I'm kidding. But in all seriousness, if your brain is like, everyone is not listening to me, like not true, what you want to do is you want to find something in the middle. It's just like going from lifting 5 pounds to lifting 100 pounds, right? You're probably going to try to lift something in the middle first before you go from 5 to 100, right? It might be like a 10 pounder. So you have to look for a thought that's like a 10 pounder, right? That your brain can actually believe. So it could be something like, a couple people are listening. I bet a couple people are listening. And you will know you believe the thought because you will feel it in your body. It will like shift. You'll be like, oh, that feels way better to have the thought, a couple people are listening. And then what happens is when you start to shift this, your brain will go, you know what, I went out to dinner. Susie gets a lot of action in my conversations. I went out to dinner with Susie the other day and she told me that she really liked what I had to say. Or even when there's no evidence, that happens sometimes, people don't say anything, right? You could still believe that a couple people are listening. Like, yeah, I'm sure they are. There are people who follow me religiously who comment and then sometimes don't comment or like anything, and then they'll say something about it 3 weeks later and be like, oh my gosh, that post. And I'm like, oh, they didn't even say anything about it. Because you also have to think about, like, people act how you act. Do you comment and like on everything that you see, or are you so involved in reading it that you didn't even think about commenting, right? So you have to find something in the middle, and what you do is, like, I literally do this work, like still, this is the work I literally do every day on whatever goal I have, whatever I'm going after, because you have to build that belief at every level. And so what I do is I'm constantly bridging the gap between these. You might notice throughout your day too, you put a post up and your brain goes, nobody's listening. You're going to be like, oh, like it's happening. I'm having that thought. Like, what else could be true? Maybe a couple people are listening. Now, that's the whole process. And I always tell people, by the time you get up from doing that process, you should feel differently. If you don't, you haven't worked, like, not hard as in grind it out, but like you haven't worked hard enough to find new thoughts that you actually believe. So you got to go searching for more. You got to find new ways. Like, you got to find a new perspective to look at to keep you going forward. And that's how you build a success mindset. That's how over time you build yourself to a place where I believe that my success is inevitable. So that's also something that's like helpful with this is like, I may not believe that my next goal is happening this month right now yet, but I also do believe that my success is inevitable. And it gives me so much like peace to just keep showing up and keep going and serving my purpose because I truly believe in that. So I'm totally, let's see what time it is, 2:07. So this is something you guys can take and do on your own and all of that, but we've got like 20 minutes left, and I'm happy to help if you guys, like, when you look at this, you're like, oh, I'm definitely having trouble. I get stuck on this thought, or I get stuck thinking this thing about myself, or anything like that. I'm happy to actually coach you on it, and like offer a different perspective to help you work through it.
Does anyone want to unmute themselves if you have like a thought that you want Lindsay to help you work through?
Or if you need a second to like write them down, I kind of just ran through them and told you not to do it yet. So I'm going to go read the chats really quick. Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah. The dress. I know for me, I can kind of speak to this a little bit. And I think like in the beginning of my journey, I have totally felt all three of those graphs, by the way, at different stages in the business. I feel like they've all kind of come out at different stages where you see some success or you get recognition or you hit a new rank and you're like, oh, the things I've been doing have been working. This is great. And then you get stuck there and all of a sudden your brain goes, nope, it's not working anymore because I haven't rank advanced again. And so I find I'm one of those people who just kind of have this like up and down. And I think for me, one of the things that my belief is that the action will work. I find I'm constantly battling the thought of this isn't enough. I'm not doing enough. I have to be doing more. What's the next thing I could be doing? I shouldn't have been relaxing. I should have been doing the thing. So I find for me, I get stuck there. And what I started doing was just writing out a lot of the affirmations of, I am a 5-star coach. I am a 10-star coach, but I'm not. And so I feel like that's kind of where maybe I'm stuck. I'm writing things out as if they're already true, or I'm writing things out as if they've already happened. However, I feel like as you've been talking, I'm like, wait, but that is a conflict for me. So that's kind of where I'm at. How would I like transition that thought from like really having that belief in the thing that's going to happen instead of just writing it out as if it's already true into like navigating that more neutral thought?
Yeah. So my question would be, when you're a 5-star coach and you are showing up and taking the actions you're taking now, I'm guessing you would be doing the similar things that you do right now when you're at that level. My question is, what thought does she have about those actions? Like working? Like, why does she think they're going to work? Or what thought does she have about them?
Yeah, I think for me, it comes down to a book that was really hit me hard was The Slight Edge, and knowing that it is consistency over time. And it's not about that grinding it out, hustling to burnout. It is just consistency over time. And she has that belief in the consistency.
So she has the thought that I've been doing this consistently, it only gets better. Like my results will only get bigger, or does that is that, and I'll connect the dots here, but I want to know, what is her thought? Like, I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this consistently. Of course, people are going to keep coming.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's knowing that your skill only gets better. Like, it just takes time. And that's one thing for me. I'm rushing the process. So I think in her mind, she knows that it's not about rushing the process. It is about just allowing that process to naturally take its course, but and showing up how you need to show up with that hard work. So yeah.
Why I'm just gonna jump in and coach you. Why is she not rushed?
She's not rushed because she already has the title. And
Okay.
the title, what's that?
What's the title mean? Like she already has the title.
Yeah, the title deems success. That's one for me that is like really rings true. The title deems success.
So your work really is about seeing yourself as a success right now. Because the reason why we rush to achieve anything is because we think it's either we're looking for some sort of worthiness. I'm worthy of something. I'm worthy. I'm good enough, whatever. I'm winning. I'm whatever because I've achieved this success. And that's what makes it frantic, right? Anytime I do that in my own head, I feel frantic. I feel like there's not enough time. My brain is like, hurry, 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 get to the result, because not being enough, your brain associates that with like death. Like it's not actual death, but it associates it with like emotional death, like not being enough. So the real work is around like seeing, how am I a success now? Like how have I already made it? Because when you do that, when you really see that and connect those dots and truly find evidence right now that you are a success, that you are enough, that you have done it, think about how you're going to show up differently over the course of bridging that gap. And think about how you're going to attract people differently as a leader, right? When you have the thought, I am a success, it's done. Like, I look at what I've already created and where I'm going. That is like brings even more people in. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. And that's exactly where I feel like I'm at. And I do feel that like frantic at times. So as soon as you said that, I was like, yes, that is me. Yeah, that helps a lot.
So my last question to really like close the gap though would be like, how have you already made it?
Okay, so this one's really big, and this is where I then kind of look at myself, and this is like the proof behind, like, I've already quit my corporate job. I'm not in a job that I don't like. I am doing this full time. I have the time freedom. I'm making more income than I've ever made previously, yet it's this title that really holds me back. And so I do have those successful metrics that it's so true. It's just like you have to redefine success.
You have to keep reminding yourself of this, because like over and over and over again until your brain is wired differently. Because what it will keep doing, and this is like so much work that I had to do, like, I mean, all of you guys, I'm sure have to do this, like, this is your work on yourself, but being like high achievers and wanting to achieve things is when you're of the mentality, it's never enough. It does not matter what goal you hit, you will always be on to the next thing, and you will be trying to just fulfill this gap over and over again, and it will feel rushed, and that will be the like sum of your life, right? And so I think the biggest thing is going back to that and being like, how am I already successful? How have I already made it? And like fully like rooting in that and embodying that. Like, what thoughts am I going to have about myself as a 5-star coach? How is that already true about me? And when you close that gap, you're going to be showing up so much more powerfully and like also at peace, right? Like one of the biggest things, the reason why I teach the work that I teach is of course to help my clients and people create massive success so their life just like blows their mind, but so they can do it in a way that they get to enjoy their life during the whole time. But when you're so focused on trying to achieve a goal to be what you think you've made it, like all of that time is spent worrying about that instead of enjoying your life. And when you enjoy your life, you're actually even more magnetic to clients and potential business partners. They're going to be like, look at her. She's just living her best life. I have to be a part of it. That makes sense?
That makes total sense. And I think one of the conflicts I have within, and I know this to be true for some of the people on this team as well, is getting to the point where I'm living a really great life right now, and I love the life that I'm living, and I'm showing up with a lot of gratitude. And I almost find myself getting stuck and wanting to self-sabotage that because I know so many other women don't have that. But that's what I want to create for them. So I get kind of stuck in that sometimes. That's where I'm at right now too, is just kind of bridging that gap and that thought process of really showing up and showing how much I love the life that we have really created with the incredible team that we have, because we couldn't have done this without our team. So really showing that, but not self-sabotaging it, because it almost seems braggy, or it seems like, who am I to deserve that life? So that's a thought I battle a lot. That's one I write out all the time.
So I always have the thought that whenever I think, who am I to have this? A couple of things. I think I must be doing something really big. Because, and like the only time we have that thought is when you're doing something really big. When you think, who am I, right? Like that, you're going after a huge vision. You've created a huge vision, which I think is just a sign like of something amazing. And then I think the other thing is, who am I shows that you're actually like the perfect person to have it. Like that you were meant to have it, because you are you. You are a human. You are flawed. You aren't like any more, and I'll just close the gap, but you're not any more special than anyone else, but you decided you were worthy to have this life. And so you created it. And that's why you're the perfect person, because every single woman on this call, every single person on your team, like that's what they need from you. They need you to be the human that you are and say, the only reason I have created this is because I just believed that it was possible for me, that I'm capable of doing it, not because I, have all of this other stuff, or I'm, better or whatever, you know what I mean? Because usually when we think the thought, who am I? We also think like, I've had that because I want to write a book, and my brain will be like, what are you going to talk about that's greater than anybody else, right? But I'm like, the fact that I have the gall to even consider writing like a book and publishing it and wanting it to be a New York Times bestseller means that I'm the perfect person to do it, because that's all that's required. And then that's the same thing that's true for you.
I love that. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
You're welcome. Who else? And thanks for getting I think it's also such a amazing thing to be coached in front of your team. So I just want to celebrate you for that, for being vulnerable, and because that's so important, because we all have to know that we all have these thoughts and nothing's gone wrong. So I just want to celebrate you for that.
Thank you. I think it's so true. Who else? Who's next? I want to hear from someone else. I know, Christina, I know you had a comment there about always wanting to move on to the next thing. Do you want to unmute and chat about it?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I moved outside just to watch the kids, so it's a bit loud. But yeah, no, my issue is in life has always been I'm a high achiever. So as soon as I achieve whatever goal it is, I don't even enjoy it, and I dwell and stew over what I'm going to do next, because that's not enough. So like in my own professional career, it's, well, I need to be a teacher, right? Now I need to be a department head. Now I need to be vice principal. Like when does, like, it's never enough. And I'm same here with Beachbody now, right, too, right? It's like, okay, I was emerald, now I'm diamond, now I want this, I want that, which is great. But then I get stuck on, why am I just not satisfied with where I am? Why do I always have to keep moving forward? And with Beachbody, I obviously want to, because I know there's so much greatness, in that. But I just never really stop. So I don't know, maybe you can help me with that.
Yeah, that was literally my story, honestly. Like, that's one of the reasons why I first hired a coach, was because I was like, this can't go on. Like, I can't, like, yes, I've achieved great things, but I can't live like this, because it's never enough, and that's not a good feeling. So there's a couple of things here, right? You have to start looking for evidence of how is it enough. Now, one of the biggest reasons why we hold this belief and why our brain has this belief is we think we're going to lose our edge by believing what we have is enough. We think, I'm going to stop fighting. I'm going to stop pushing to the next level. I'm going to stop doing these things, because if I believe what I have is enough, then I'm just going to sit back on the couch and do nothing. And that is such a detrimental belief, because what it does is it pushes us to fuel our actions forward from this like lack place, like this hole of proving, of like never enough and like chasing, versus if it was enough, if your life right now is more than enough, that you were just so grateful, it was everything that you wanted it to be, and the results you've created, you were proud of them, why would you want to create more? And what you do is you find a better reason for yourself, a reason that creates consistency of showing up and doing the thing you want to do, versus volatility of, I've got to force, I've got to push, because it's never enough, right? And that was something that I had to grow in, because I don't like the success I created. And just to use this as an example to help you nip this in the bud now, is I created my life is far beyond what I ever even imagined it to be. And so my brain is like, well, why do I want to keep showing up, right? And so I had to find something which is serving women and helping them get past all of this to create the life that they really want. And that makes me be motivated from an inner, fire, a consistent fire, not an external, I've got to prove myself. And this is actually what happens with people in their health too, right? I used to do this with my body. I was convinced it was never good enough. I always had to be a little bit better and all of this. And it was just a never ending game until I found love for my body where it was. And then I was able to create better health because I just wanted to, and I wanted to treat my body better. So I think the biggest thing for you is looking at how could you actually be more motivated by believing it's enough now? What is your thought?
Yeah, so that's the hard part. I think you mentioned something about feeling maybe I was lacking some. I think those goals, I was trying to achieve them because I was looking for something that I thought would make me happy. Because once I hit that, whatever it was in my profession, I was like, okay, but I wasn't fully satisfied. And so now I'm vice principal. Am I really that happy? Well, no. So I find joy in this, and so I'm kind of just focusing my energy in that, and maybe this is what I was looking for, because I do have a different passion for it than I do my obviously my regular job. So I think I'm just caught in that. I always had a vision of what my life would be when it comes to my profession, and then after achieving all that, it's not what I personally don't feel the satisfaction that you would think somebody would. I don't know. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, well, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing either. Sometimes I think that fire's got to be lit under our butt at the beginning, but I don't think it's something that always serves us in the long run. So I think the work is about finding happiness where you are. Really train. This is what I help people do, is training their mind to feel happy, to feel fulfilled, to feel the way they want to feel in their life right now. Because again, that's something that creates consistency in the future, because we all think when I get there, I put air quotes, when I get there, then I'll be more happy, more this, more that, more whatever. And then we're so dissatisfied when we realize it's not the case. And then we try to solve it by chasing a new goal, instead of realizing that being more happy now, being more fulfilled now, and actually channeling, because our brain, this is what I will tell you, our brain is literally wired to look for the gap. So you could have 99% of your life is amazing, but our brain is trained to go, well, where's the 1%, right? What's the one thing I need to fix? What's the one thing that's not good enough? Instead of focusing on the 99, knowing that will actually be what turns it into 100, and that will keep us more motivated for forever. Yeah. Thank you so much. Also, I don't know if you care, I'm just going to share my Instagram if you guys want to follow me on there. It's @LindseyMango _ LINDSEY Mango. I just love, that's social media platforms, my jam. So, I just got glue chat, but I will share it in the recording as well when I post it. Perfect. Thank you. But what else? We've got 5 minutes. So is there anything else that you guys want coaching on or have questions on, and if your brain is like, I used to do this in class, I'd be like, me, but then I'd be like, don't say anything.
I just pick on people, Lindsay.
I love that.
Sarah, do you have anything?
I'm muted. Hi, here I am. I guess my biggest struggle is I'm new to Beachbody, right? So it's like, how do you have belief in your actions when you are new and you don't know if your actions are working because you don't have any coaches, active coaches, or that many customers?
Yeah, great question. So I call it like, it's like believing without having any evidence, like in your own
Right.
life. Yeah. So that is about looking for evidence elsewhere until you can like start to see it in yourself. So you can look at your leaders and be like, okay, they've been posting on social media. It works for them. Like there's evidence of that. Like that same thing could be true for me, right? Like it's what.
But that's the thing. I've been posting on social media for years.
Yeah.
I was with another multi-level marketing company. So I've been posting for years on it, and I've been very, very consistent with it. Like I probably haven't missed a post in like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, because now that I've switched, I don't feel like I'm getting the results that I desire in the switch. And I've been very, very consistent in it. So I'm not believing in my action because I'm not getting the engagement that I want to get, or I'm not getting that people messaging me saying that they're interested in what I'm sharing.
Mm-hmm. What would you believe if people were messaging you, or they were commenting, or they were sharing?
Well, then I would believe that what I was posting was making an impact on their life.
Yeah. So my question is, how could you believe that what you're posting is making an impact on their life, even without them telling you?
I think that's where it's hard, because it's like, how do you believe that your actions are working when you're not getting any results from what you're doing?
Yeah, so you have to choose that, right? And that's also like a gap that I help people close a lot, because it's like, couldn't you, part of you believe there's probably some people out there reading my content? Like, I'm pretty sure that there's thousands more people than I'm even aware of that, like, people don't just like all the time tell me, like, I have people who followed me for 4 years from high school who then will buy a program and literally never messaged me ever or told me that they were reading it. So it's just about seeing, like, it could very well be true that people are reading it, listening, thinking about it. And this is what's really important about this work, is you have to ask yourself, what like serves me to believe? Because here's the thing, our brain will believe, like, people will be like, so wait, am I just like lying to my brain? Am I just trying to like tell it a story that isn't true? But our brains are already believing lies. It's just a lie that's not serving us. It's telling us it's not working and nobody's listening. And that could also be a lie that we're telling ourselves. So there comes with this work a little bit of vulnerability and a little bit of like, just like falling in love, right? Being willing to put your heart out there, knowing that it could get stomped on, like, but being willing to do it anyway is similar here, and being like, I would rather choose to believe that one person is reading this and getting value. I could believe that because there's people I read that I don't comment and I don't reach out to and I don't follow up with. Like, that could be true. And you could start with just that. Like, that could be true. So whenever your brain's like, this isn't working, you could say, like, it could be true that one person is listening. And that's going to help fuel your actions forward and change the results that you're creating. A lot of people will tell me, like, they're like, oh, so, but if I tell myself and nobody is listening, then what if I don't like fix the problem? And my thought is, your brain is in a much better place to fix a problem or like problem solve and make content better or make what you're saying better when you're in a place of believing somebody's listening versus believing that nobody's listening, right? So it actually makes you more effective. But great question. All right, anybody else? Well, my time's up, but I'm happy if you guys have anything else to answer, or yeah, this has been fun. I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I really appreciate you taking the time to pop in here, and I will share all of her information and all of her courses as well that she does have available, because I don't know if you have something to share on that right now, if I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah. I actually only have one program. So I have one program. It's called Anything But Average. The whole focus is about helping people master their minds. So a lot of this work, master themselves and master their actions, so that they can, because here's the thing, right? I always think about when we are in our own brain, it's like we're in a jar. Like we can't see these other pieces of evidence. We can't see these new thoughts. And if we keep doing that, like that is what keeps creating our same results. So the whole goal of the program, I have lots of business owners in there, like creating clients, creating results, but we focus on the human as a whole, knowing that when we change those things, it changes your health, it changes your business, it changes your relationship, it changes all of it.
I love that. And I will share all of that with the recording for you guys, as well as all of her information for Facebook, and everything is there as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I absolutely just adore you. I think that you show up so authentically, and you just let us in so much to take a peek at the life that you have created and the way that you've created it. And yeah, I just think that the way that you show up authentically is really great for so many women, just like us on our team, that are really trying to live their best life and show up in our most authentic self way. So thank you so much, you guys. If you have more questions for Lindsay, you can pop into her DMs for sure. But I'll make sure I share it all. And I hope you guys have the best day. Bye, guys. Thank you.